Hello, Tadeo.
Nania.
We have lots of great questions from our viewers.
All right.
All right. The first one is, since there will likely be a major contact event in 2026 or 2027, and we need to raise our vibration in order to connect with the ETs, does this mean that by 2026 we will have raised our vibration high enough to physically connect with ETs? Is our raising our vibration to a certain level the threshold that will catapult us into this major contact event that you're describing?
While raising your vibration is essential, the event that we are describing in your 2026, 2027 is not the kind of contact event that you may think it is. It will be the beginning of something, the crossing into another era, another level, but it will be for reasons that will not necessarily involve immediate physical contact. Raising your vibration is important to help accelerate into the time when physical contact will be available to you. But the incidents that lead up to this major contact event, while they will be helped by raising your vibration, will not necessarily be for the reasons that you think. We cannot go into too much detail at this time about exactly what causes this event.
Regarding the major contact event foreseen at the time we were just describing, dear Bashar, we would like the ET civilizations involved in this future event to know that we are willing to help at any point during its preparation, if appropriate. We don't wish to be passive, but would be honored to begin joyful interplanetary cooperation in the spirit of beautiful relationships as we journey through the universe together.
Well, all right, but again, follow your passion, follow the formula, raise your vibration. The major contact event will not necessarily be an immediate opportunity for what it is you are talking about, but it will lead to such if you continue along the path of your true self. And the reactions and responses to the major contact event will be observed by many and will determine exactly the schedule, so to speak, the agenda, so to speak, for how open contact may proceed from that point forward.
You've described how direct physical encounters with extraterrestrial beings like yourself and others of higher vibration can cause psychic shock if the person meeting them hasn't raised their vibration enough. As some humans raise their vibration by following their passion, can something similar happen between those humans of higher vibration and other humans whose vibration is not as high? Or would that manifest directly due to the flavor of vibrations here on Earth?
Yes, it'll be somewhat different, although you may experience the difference more in the direction of people not necessarily associating with each other anymore if they are in fear of examining themselves, in fear of being aware of the different negative or fear-based belief systems within themselves. It is possible that humans of higher vibration may coax those fear-based beliefs closer to the surface, but because you are all on Earth, everyone still has the idea of a choice to avoid or ignore those that they may be afraid to face because it reminds them of things that they may not want to look at within themselves. So while it is possible that the higher vibration may coax people to look at themselves on Earth, it is a little bit different in that they have the choice to move away, walk away, ignore that vibration. So it will not be identical to the effect that would happen if you were, for example, to meet one of us.
Okay, thank you. Just as you and a number of Earth futurists have expressed the need for us to realize that we are part of nature rather than separate from it, I'm curious about what events would lead to that awakening and a transition to an Earth where that is the case. Does open contact, for example, contribute to that, and how?
Of course, open contact would contribute to your understanding of your expression as nature because it is built into the vibration of many extraterrestrial species to understand themselves that way as well. So that vibration is part of the formula of the frequency you would experience from all of us because we understand ourselves as expressions of nature. Therefore, it comes with the package, so to speak, that you would begin to face things within yourself that would put you in touch with your expression as nature as well.
Okay. And how will universities in particular change after first contact?
Well, obviously, there will be more discussion, more exploration of the idea that you are not alone in the universe. There will be courses that will begin to teach you about the different extraterrestrial species that would be appropriate for you to experience. There will be deeper understandings of certain ideas in the past that will come into the present again, because certain knowledge has been, shall we say, lost over time that will be reclaimed, regained, and re-explored. There will be many different kinds of investigations into your own nature as well as the nature of the extraterrestrials that you will be experiencing in open contact. Plus, you may allow different techniques of teaching to occur in your universities and other levels of schooling that will be more reflective of interactive experiences based on the way that extraterrestrials may explain to you, as we have explained to you from time to time, how it is we learn things, how it is we teach things, more by interactive experience than the idea of rote memorization. So your techniques of teaching may also change based on what you are willing to adapt to and adopt into your schools based on what you learn from us.
Sounds really exciting.
Yes.
Um, what will open contact mean for the great apes on planet Earth? Will the higher energies of ETs also accelerate their evolution to the same intellectual standard as humans?
No, it will be different. But as we have said, open contact is not just with humans, it is with all life on your planet. But each species has its own direction, its own path, its own evolutionary goal, so to speak. It will not be the same as humans exactly, but they will advance, they will evolve, but it may not be something that you can necessarily relate to right away unless you are sensitive to their communication and they become sensitive to yours in a different way. It will mostly involve the idea of telepathy rather than the idea of having the same expression of intellect that humans do.
So, is there a frequency that telepathy is a natural, automatic kind of thing?
Yes, the frequency of unconditional love.
And what about like in cycles per second?
Well, the idea, again, is that when you operate above 200,000 cycles per second, then it becomes more natural to experience the idea of telepathic communication.
And that experience of telepathic communication can be experienced as like hearing the person's voice talking to you in your head.
It can be, but true telepathy is more of a simple receiving of an entire block of information in the form of suddenly simply knowing what the other person is intending. It may come as images, it may come as voices, but it is more likely simply to come as a knowing. You just suddenly know it. There's no mistaking it. It cannot be mistaken for imagination. It is simply that the knowledge is suddenly within you as if it has always been there.
So, is there such a thing as like a telepathic conversation with another person that's in another room because your frequency is so high?
Yes, although such a conversation wouldn't last very long in terms of time, because again, you have instant knowingness, an instant exchange of knowledge and perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Um, Do ETs ever reveal themselves to people flying in airplanes?
Yes, sometimes. You have many what you call UFO reports of people in airplanes saying that they saw craft outside the airplane windows.
Should we high five them?
If you wish. They may high five you back if they have 5 fingers.
You mentioned there will be a new Earth satellite, which represents male energy when male energy is more balanced in the future. Can you tell us more about that?
All we can say at this time is that it will be something akin to a captured asteroid that will fall into a regular orbit around your planet and, in a sense, become a much smaller secondary moon.
Do you have any timeline on that?
No.
Our CPUs are currently upwards of 100 billion transistors on them. Are there transitions for Sasani CPUs in your time?
Transitions?
Transistors.
Oh, we do not use transistors. What you may recognize as a computer or a form of AI is purely made of intersecting beams of light. And the equivalent would be 150 trillion operations per second.
Interesting. If you've never had names, then how do you address each other and identify each other? For instance, if you're referencing another being in a conversation, how do you identify that entity to the person that you're talking to?
Remember that our society is purely telepathic, and everyone has a signature frequency. Therefore, by mirroring or reflecting the signature frequency of another individual that is unique, everyone would know exactly who we are referencing.
Okay. This person says that they've been getting a strong buzz when they watch your seminars online in real time, and that they've also gotten a similar version of that if they miss the transition and they watch the recording afterwards. Is this a preparation for something?
Well, it's a preparation for raising your frequency because the buzz you're feeling is the matching of the frequency that we give off. Even if it's not a live session, the idea of our frequency is sort of embedded in anything that represents the session, like a permission slip. So even though it may not feel completely identical to a live session, the frequency is still embedded in any projection of the communication that we have delivered. Therefore, you will still, if you're willing to match our frequency, still feel some mirroring or reflection of that frequency within you, which you may interpret as a kind of buzz of electricity or in some other way.
So for many people, because you're coming in at a higher frequency, as soon as we match that, we start experiencing ourselves from that level.
Yes. Yes. And again, since everything is embedded in existence in space-time, then all you're doing by watching a replay of the communication is, again, you are tapping into that frequency to some degree and allowing yourself to begin to identify and mirror and match that frequency, because all information is here and now.
Like some people have noticed that if they listen to one of your recordings, every time they hear something different. And
Yes.
my understanding is that has to do with the information is holographic in that sense. So it will, how does that work? Maybe you can explain.
Well, you have said it yourself. It's holographic, which means you can have many different kinds of layers of information, but being a holographic structure, you will only perceive what you are the vibration of. So listening to it one time or perceiving it the first time, you may be of a certain frequency that only receives a certain amount of the information that is embedded in the transmission. But if you change your frequency, the next time there are different layers within it that have always been there, but may have been inaudible or invisible to you. But by changing your frequency, now you can pick up on those layers because they are of a different frequency as well.
So that's very exciting because that means that even if a person evolves to higher and higher frequencies, every time they listen to one of your transmissions, they have the opportunity to hear information that they were not able to access before.
Well, yes, and it might not even be that they hear the information. It might suddenly be that by listening to it, they are suddenly receiving an inspiration they didn't receive before. Again, it may come telepathically. It may simply present itself automatically and instantly in their mind as a fully fleshed out idea or concept or inspiration that they didn't have the first time. It may come that way. It's not necessarily something that would be delivered to them auditorily.
So that means even after all of us are long gone, listening to one of these transmissions will provide that opportunity to whoever is listening.
Absolutely. Because everything exists in the now and never goes away.
It's phenomenal.
Yes, it is a phenomenon.
I believe that every species has its own limitations and difficulties to overcome. What are your challenges? How do you deal with disturbing frequencies? And what does a training day or school for your folks look like?
Well, in dealing with different civilizations, which is what I do all the time since I'm a first contact specialist, it's about understanding and investigating and deeply identifying with the civilization. This is why we often experience the idea of having an incarnation or a life in the civilization so that there is a deeper understanding. And that's part of our training, is to actually live among you as one of you until we have enough knowledge that we can then deliver this information in a way that makes sense to you. But on our own world, as I was trained to be a first contact specialist, the mentor of what you may call the training, in this case being my father for my class, creates a telepathic reality that actually appears to be completely and utterly real. And we go through different exercises and different contact scenarios in that telepathically projected reality, again, as if it is completely and utterly real, like we are truly interacting with that civilization. But it's a simulation. It's just that a mentor has the training to project a telepathic reality that contains the ability to make us believe that it is actually happening and not just a training exercise. That way we get the full experience of it, and any errors come back to us fully in our understanding of what the consequences would be if we actually did make that error in interacting with the actual civilization. So it's ingrained within us very deeply by experiencing it as if it is real.
So that kind of sounds like what happens to us on Earth, but we don't see it as a projection of consciousness until we become more aware.
In some senses, yes.
Because the experience is the most valuable aspect. Is that correct?
The experience is the only way anyone actually learns anything.
Amazing. Have you ever killed another physical being, even a plant, in your life? And have you ever brought back to the physical life something after death?
No, I have never killed anything, not even a plant, in my reality. The closest analogy or answer to the second question would be, again, in birthing a new member of our society, we do create a vibrational medium, a vibrational bubble in which the spirit can actually form a physical body. If you want to call that bringing someone out of the spirit world, even though it's not, quote unquote, bringing them back from the dead, so to speak, that would be the closest analogy of allowing a body to form that a spirit can use or a soul can use to experience our reality in our quasi-physical nature.
That would be similar to birth in your reality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but not in a physical body, in terms of the female or any particular being actually giving birth through their body. This is done outside the bodies in a energy bubble.
So is it a joint manifestation between you and a female?
It can be. It doesn't always have to be.
It can just be done on your own?
It can be, or it can be done with any number of members, depending upon what it is the soul wishes to experience as the body that is formed for it to participate in our civilization. It can be done between the same genders. It can be done between multiple genders. It just depends on what the purpose of the soul is and what kind of body needs to be created and what kind of theme they are exploring.
So what does it look like when you see this person manifest in the sense that you're describing?
There is a kind of clear energy bubble that can be perceived. There will be a burst of light within it, and a small energy structure will form within it and will build very quickly into the cellular structure of a body made out of quasi-physical material. It usually only takes about anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds.
So is this the same as Asasani beings creating a birth, right? Is what you're describing?
That is what I'm describing.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
That's amazing. Certainly much easier than what the women on our planet go through.
In a sense, yes. It's all relative.
Are there extraterrestrials who are involved in the hybridization program that are not grays?
Yes.
And can you tell us anything about that? Do they do this to further their own culture and their own reproductive needs, or what would be the purpose of that?
Not so much, but they are more in an assistive, shall we say, role. Because you have heard tell that when people go on board the ships and they know they are involved in the hybridization agenda, they have also reported beings like the mantises, what you call the tall whites, and several other kinds of beings that are acting in an assistive role for the idea of helping with the evolution of Earth into the sixth hybrid race. So, no, other civilizations don't necessarily use the DNA in the same way the Greys have to perpetuate their culture into creating hybrids such as ourselves, but they are playing an assistive role because they are connected and, shall we say, watching over and observing and participating in the evolution of humanity on Earth. Because as we have said, there are many different kinds of stories being played out here. So it's quite exciting.
Who exactly issued the original quarantine of Earth? Was it a collective vote or the decision of one individual to gate humans off of interstellar travel for centuries? Are those beings still physically alive to see the results of their decisions?
There is a misunderstanding in the way this question is being asked. The so-called quarantine is for your benefit. The idea is that you're not prevented from interstellar travel. If you were open enough to create techniques technologically to have interstellar travel today, you could. It's just that the quarantine is for the purpose of not intervening or interfering in any negative way that would interfere in your process of discovering who you are. You are not prevented from doing anything. And the idea of the origin of this is between your collective consciousness and the collective consciousness of your spirit guides and the collective consciousness of the Interstellar Alliance in recognizing the sovereignty of the paths that you have chosen as a collective species to explore reality and to evolve in the way that you have deemed necessary for yourselves. We help by letting you know that there may be smoother and easier ways and faster ways to do this, but the decisions really are up to you as to when you are ready for the idea of removing the quarantine. You are no longer quarantined as far as we are concerned. It's now in your hands and up to you to determine what you are capable of doing when you bring your belief systems into alignment with your expressions as reflections of all that is.
Okay, and this question comes from someone's 9-year-old daughter, and she wants to know if it ever snows on Asasani.
Not really. Because our axis tilt is not as severe as Earth's, and our orbit is nearly circular around our star, most of our temperature is temperate, it's moderate. Somewhere around, generally speaking, give or take a few degrees, what you would call about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, on the North and South Poles, depending on certain conditions that happen at rare times, there may be a buildup of frost, there may be a little bit of ice, but it does not snow on our planet in the way that you are familiar with experiencing snowfall.